While we were in the Sahara Desert, I mentioned to Jessica that this might be a little crazy. After all, logically, to survive, a person would do everything they can to get out of the Sahara Desert. It's something you try to avoid. And here we are, not only in the desert, riding camels, but we came here on purpose? Why did we decide to do this again? Well, let's back up and show how we got here. The tour company picked us up at our hotel in Marrakech, and after about 45 minutes of chaotic yelling in Arabic between various drivers, we were on our way. This was not the most organized outfit we've seen on different trips. For example, a few hours into the trip, our driver realized that he didn't actually know who we even were. Thankfully, that was resolved later on. One phrase we heard over and over again from our driver and from other people was, "It's not possible." For example, "Can I get something out of my bag in the back of the truck?" "It's not possible." The cramped 18-passenger van that was our home for parts of 3 days had people from all over the world with us. Belgium, China, Ireland, Chile, Germany, and 2 other guys from New Hampshire in the US. The music on the trip was pretty interesting. It went from African guitar pop, which I actually really liked, to, well, just listen. The tour stopped at many beautiful vistas in the high Atlas mountain range along the way. And at each one there were people selling all sorts of fossils, mineral rocks, and other trinkets. The tour also stopped at some pretty cool locations along the way. First was Ait Ben Haddou, which, although you might not know the name, I'm willing to bet that you've seen this place. It's known as the Hollywood of Africa since it has been used in many, many movies over the years. Lawrence of Arabia, Time Bandits, The Jewel of the Nile, The Mummy, Gladiator, and Prince of Persia, just to name a few. A little further down the road, we stopped again at the Movie Museum, which ended up just being a bunch of sets that were built to use in different movies.
What is your decree?
I decree that burritos be eaten every day. We also got to see an artist painting with tea, saffron, and indigo. At first you could barely see the image, but when he put the painting up to a flame, it became a work of art. We actually bought one of these and it's hanging in our house now. After our tour and eating lunch, we were right back in our torture van again. The next day we stopped at Todra Gorge. The gorge itself was absolutely breathtaking. He guided us from the gorge to walk along a small river to his village, where they took us to a women's co-op where they make rugs. About 3 hours later, we finally arrived at the edge of the Sahara Desert. Unfortunately, there was a ton of wind that was whipping the sand around, so we had to wait a bit for that to die down. But even once we got started, the blowing sand was intense enough that we had to cover our faces to protect them. After about a 30-minute ride over many dunes, we arrived at our camp for the night. This place ended up being super nice. We were fed dinner in the dining tent, and afterwards we laid on a dune just outside of camp and looked up at the stars in the crystal clear sky. The next morning, we were awoken in time for sunrise, and pretty quickly after that, they whisked us away to be on our way back to Marrakech. But of course, we had to wait for about 30 minutes or more for our van in literally the middle of nothing. Honestly, unsure if they were even coming to pick us up. And after that, a solid 12-hour trip back in the torture van. One funny story, when we got back to Marrakech, our driver didn't actually know where our hotel was, and he got frustrated and gave up and said he was just going to drop us off where we were. We said, "No, we don't know where we are. You have to take us to our hotel." His response? "It's not possible." He literally took out our bags, left us on the street, and asked a random young girl if she knew where these two Americans were staying. She said she knew that hotel, and he left us. The good news is, amazingly, we were only about 2 blocks from our hotel. So, 3 days crammed in a van, not knowing exactly where you're going, what you're seeing, even where you're going to sleep, vomiting all night in the desert, being left multiple times in strange places. Man, that was awesome.